Hi, Jyoti. Good morning. I can't hear you. I think your microphone is muted.
Now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Perfect. Welcome back. Nice to have you back again.
Yes,
I
thank
think
you
you're a
very
lot
much
of
for
people
having
looking
me.
forward to talk, and it's been a couple of months, so the work from home has been constant. So there's a lot of people who want to know how to deal with all of the stress now. So we're happy
Yes,
to have you
most
back.
definitely, especially in the
Yes,
cyber and technology space.
yes, definitely. So I'm just going to go ahead and let the audience know what you're going to be talking about. You can get your screen share started. Sumi, over to you.
Sure.
Thank you, Aditya. Hello, Jyoti. We meet
Hi.
again.
Thank you.
So, I'll just introduce you in my own style. Maybe being a lover of dance, it is a privilege to introduce you. So, Jyoti is an author, international speaker, holistic wellness specialist, and coach, dance director, and an award winning leading female cybersecurity executive. As a pioneer in the field of cybersecurity and one of just a handful of leading female CISOs in the world, she's truly passionate about empowering women to face their fears, build confidence in themselves, and shatter the glass ceiling, with a lifelong commitment of empowering people to take charge of their health, wellness, career, and their life as a whole. Jyoti founded the Power of Healing 360 holistic wellness practice. So over to you, Jyoti.
Over to you, Jyoti. We'll have you back as usual.
Okay, just want to make sure. Can you all see the slides?
Yep, we can see the slides, we can hear you, we can see you. All clear.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Well, that was definitely an amazing panel before me. It's probably one of the best I've ever seen. And I'm so really, really thrilled to see so many women out there. It looks like these slides move before I actually move them. So I'm going to keep moving it back here. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. My passion has been really merging the holistic wellness and conscious leadership fields with cybersecurity and technology, because we are going into an age where, you know, just focusing on technical skills. I am not sure why this keeps doing that. I believe Rajasthan put my slides in a different format, and I think they put it on a timer so that I have to talk fast or something. But, you know, I really take pride in merging different fields together: holistic wellness, cybersecurity, writing, speaking, and yeah, I'm also a dance director as well. So long story short, the reason why I got into holistic wellness was because I have 3 kids. And during the birth of my 3rd baby, my doctor had made several mistakes, so that I was actually given 6 weeks to live, and I couldn't walk for about a year. So I actually took that upon myself to heal myself from inside out, which is through holistic wellness and all the different modalities that come with that. So I know we're not here today to talk about that, but we are here to talk about how that relates to you as a female, as a woman, especially in the cyber and technology space, because this is one of those fields where there's so much stress and burnout and overwhelm on top of your normal day as well. So if we take a look at a cyber leader's life today, and especially if you're a woman in this field, there's just so much so many triggers that may cause stress for you, right? It's like cyber is no longer looked upon as a very technical job. There is some parts of it that are technical, and before that was the only part that people worried about. But now, to be a successful CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, or a cyber leader, you have to get really good at all of these different areas, right? It's not just a security expertise. You have to get really good at thinking strategically, leadership skills, management, leading people from within, business knowledge. What do you know about the business? Communication skills, and effective communications, not just the ability to talk, but to talk effectively, saying the right thing to the right people in the way that they understand, and having the right timing for everything. and relationship building. So as women, we tend to be wired to do all of these things innately in the home setting, right? If you're a woman and you have a family and you have kids, you're already doing many of these things in the home setting. And now we have to bring all of these things to the workplace if you're on that ladder to be a cyber leader or a CISO. So, for anyone looking at all of those things, that's a lot to think about on a daily basis, right? So what do we do? Is there a cure, or is there any healing for this? And absolutely. So one thing that I did in my own healthcare journey, as I was recovering and healing myself, I was already in the cyber field for the last 25 years, even before it was even called cyber. So I knew, as I'm healing myself from a holistic wellness point of view, at some point in time, I have to continue working again in the cyber field. And if you're in cyber, you're getting these calls in the middle of the night. If you're, on call, if you're a cyber leader, you're constantly like wired to technology. And somebody in the last panel said, the phone is it's almost like your a new organ that was just developed. And that is so true, right? Technology is becoming just part of us. It's almost, for some of us, it's actually within us. If you have a pacemaker, if you have some other body part these days that was actually made for you, probably by a 3D printer, right? So we don't even know what's within us. And what do we do? How do we heal that? So we have to understand that it's all connected. So just like a cyber space where everything's connected, right? The Internet of Things, everything's all connected. Everything's also connected within us, but from a mind, body, and energy perspective. So when we start thinking about ourselves like that as human beings and how we connect with the world and with technology now, it becomes very clear that one thing affects the other. So if you change your mind and your mindset, that's going to affect your body and your energy. If you change your body, your physiology, it's going to affect your mind and your energy. So it's all connected. And why does that matter? Okay, so if you are a cyber professional, even if you're not a CISO, if you're, let's say, a SOC analyst or you're an incident response person, no matter what your role is, you're constantly going into what I call crisis or chaos mode, right? There's a trigger. Something happens in your environment, whether a system goes down or you hear something. Sometimes the news gets hold of something even before you know it, and your brain just goes into an alarm mode, right? There's a physical trigger, and now you immediately go into a fight, flight, or freeze mode. You have to do something about this trigger. And triggers are okay, but then what your body does when it goes into alarm mode is it creates resistance against that trigger because it wants to get that trigger out. But the problem is in cybersecurity, as you all know, or you might not know, if you have an incident or even an event that you don't know if it's a security incident or not, you can't just immediately get rid of that trigger, right? It takes a lot of time. So you have alarm, you have a bunch of resistance that keeps building up against that alarm because you're not able to release that trigger. And if you do that for long enough, what happens is your brain, your body, and your energy go into a state of exhaustion because you can't really release these triggers and these stressors at a quick pace. So, when we look at the difference between stress and distress, stress can actually be a good thing. The stress itself is not the problem here. So a lot of people think like, oh, I really want to, let go of my stress. I don't want to have any stress in my life. It's not the stress that's the problem. It's your reaction to or response to the stress. That is the problem. And that's where many of us, without these wellness skills or wellness tools or modalities in place, we tend to react to that stress in a somewhat of a negative way or an adverse way. We keep trying to get rid of the stress instead of actually using that stress to find the gift in that situation, right? And when you keep on having that stress and then your reaction, your emotional reaction to that stress or your energetic reaction to that stress, then your body goes into a state of distress. So what are some common stressors that cause us distress, right? So if you're in cyber, you're probably connected to your work, your technology 24/7. It's never ending. You can't, catch all hackers today and then rest for the rest of the week, right? It never happens. Or if you can't go on vacation or sleep at night or take care of your kids if you have kids at home and just assume that, okay, no one is going to touch my system because they know I'm on break right now, right? That doesn't happen for us in the cyber world. And we're probably working more than 40 hours a week because there's just so much work to do and so less people to do that. And we're constantly dealing with cyber incidents or just even regular incidents, tech outages, breaches. And the thing in cyber is that mistakes can be costly. We can't say, oh, I'm sorry, it was just a simple mistake, won't happen again. Well, that simple mistake could have cost your organization billions of dollars or rupees if you're in India, or a reputation, which is not going to be easily retractable back. Right. And then there's so much visibility on the cyber leader because everything gets blamed on cybersecurity, even if it has nothing to do with cyber. Something goes down. The first people that the organization usually blames is, let's call the cyber folks because something must have happened. Maybe they tried to patch a system and then broke the whole system, even if that's really not the case. And this is just on the work front. Right. And then if you're a woman and you have a family or a spouse, and even if you don't, you have so much family pressure, right? I was born in India and I came to the US when I was 1. As people in my parents' generation in India started becoming more and more evolved and maybe a little bit more westernized, the generation that came here to the US, such as my parents, still had a very cultural and very Indian way of thinking from like way back, like 50 years ago. So I grew up with a lot of family pressure, cultural pressure. You had to fit your little box that they put you in. And we're always thinking about financial stability. We're probably not prioritizing our own health and wellness or self-care. And we're always on the go, right? Especially if you're a woman. And you're probably not taking much downtime for yourself either. In the work front, but also at home. You can't just say, if you're a mom, let's say, you can't just say, okay, I'm taking a day off from being a mom today, so I'll see you back in a couple of days. It just doesn't happen. So how do you react when your good friend stress shows up in your life? What is your current reaction or response to stress? Right? Because remember what I said before, it's not the stress that's the problem here. It's your reaction or your response to the stress. So one thing that really helped me as I was healing myself through my own healthcare journey while I was in cyber as well, it's the thought that you had it all under control. Okay, so I had to really change the definition of stress for myself. So I looked at it as, I'm going to change the definition. Here's my own definition. It's just the thought that I had it all in control. Just that thought is being tested right now. And all I need to do is reach for a solution in this moment. Because this moment is all you have. You don't have the past moments. You don't know if you're going to have the future moments, but you do know you have the present moment. Right? So it's just reach for a solution in this moment in time. And that's all I needed to do. And don't worry about, how is this going to affect, 10 years from now or 5 years from now or 5 days from now or 5 hours from now. Just reach for the solution just in this moment to get me to release this to have a better response to the stress. And we'll talk about, how do we do that in just a little bit. But first, if you look at the symptoms of the burnout and of the stress from too much problem solving, right? A lot of us got into the cyberspace because we love solving problems. We were probably the kids that are like really looking at those puzzles growing up or trying to solve the crossword puzzles, and we love to solve problems. But in cyber, there's just too much problems or too many problems. And we're all trying to solve all of these different pieces of the puzzle together constantly. over and over again. And that leads to just exhaustion, not just physical exhaustion, but mental, emotional exhaustion. And then at some point in time, we start to kind of depersonalize things, and it starts to really get to us at some point, right? And because it's a never-ending job. Like sometimes you just don't feel fulfilled because you create a list of 5 things you want to, or maybe 50 things you want to do in the day, the beginning of the day, and then by the time you come to the end of the day, you probably didn't get to any of those 50 things, but you might have done 50 other things, right? So it's just like it's you never have a sense of like, okay, I said I'm going to do this, and that's what I did, and I can check that off the box, and then I can feel happy that I never have to look at that again. So what does that do? So to help, it affects our sleep, our energetic levels, our ability to focus, and maybe even eating, right? Maybe sometimes you overeat or you undereat. So really, we start going down this downward spiral of if we don't really learn the skills that we need and the tools that we need to really keep us at the upward spiral. And we'll see what that spiral looks like in a second. So this is what we call the emotional guidance scale. And I didn't create this. This is from Esther Hicks from the book Ask and It's Given. And what they show here is that middle line is where people think they have to reach towards in life. Have you heard people like, okay, I just want, I just want peace in my life. I just want calmness in my life. And often it's looked at as that's the end all be all goal, just to be calm and peaceful in your life. But if you look at the spiral, it's not the end all be all goal. It's just a neutral. It's the sea level. So if you think of an iceberg, and then there's like 10% of the iceberg on top of the sea level, and then there's 90% of the iceberg at the bottom of the sea level, right? So the middle line is just that sea level. That's not the end all be all goal. You want to get to the top of that iceberg, right? So, but most of the times we spend our time in this downward spiral here. We're frustrated, or sometimes we're pessimistic, or we're irritated, or we don't have patience. And then it gets worse and worse and worse. If you're not able to get yourself at least to that sea level, then it gets worse, right? Then it starts turning into hatred or jealousy or insecurity or powerlessness. And a lot of times what we tend to do, I know for sure I was doing that, is you're somewhere in the bottom of that spiral, and then you want to you try to quickly jump to the past the sea level, and you want to try to quickly jump to joy or feeling empowered or freedom very quickly. And what happens is you're physically and emotionally, mentally not capable of doing that so rapidly. And the more you try to just quickly jump so many levels higher, you actually end up doing the opposite, because it doesn't happen that fast. So then you start getting even more frustrated and more upset, like, oh, like, why isn't this working? And then you start, going down the downward spiral even faster. So one thing that I learned is, the best we can do in this moment in time is just reach for the next best feeling. Okay, so let's take an example. So if you're feeling impatient, let's say that, that's like the third down from your neutral. Okay, you might not be able to go from being impatient to feeling love and joy and freedom that, in the moment so quickly. So maybe you just reach for the next step up, which is, let's say, frustration. Okay. And you might think like, well, why would I want to feel frustrated? That's not a great feeling. But yes, that's true. It's not a great feeling, and you don't want to stay there, but it's better than it's one step higher than impatience, right? So you're still making progress. Now from the frustration field, then you can get to that middle state of maybe calmness. And then from that, you can work your way up one step at a time, so that eventually you could get to that state of joy and freedom. And, another thing that I had to change the definition in my own mind for is the word expectation and managing my expectations. Because the reason why things cause you stress or your response to the stress is your own expectations of how things should be according to you, right? So if someone doesn't meet your expectations, or some situation didn't meet your expectations, that's what causes you to react badly to that trigger. So what if we just look at expectations in a different way? It's just the expectation on yourself and others play a huge role in leading to this anxiety, stress, and distress if they're not managed adequately. So the better we can get at managing our own expectations, then the better we can get at really starting to release these triggers and our reaction to the stress. So just really quickly, sometimes we have to allow ourselves to go through the process of grief. And usually grief is looked at in these 5 different steps, like acceptance, denial, anger, depression, bargaining. And usually grief is looked at as only needed for people. If someone passes, okay, that's really the only case where you would grieve that person, or maybe it's a pet. But you can also grieve situations. You can also grieve events. So, and you have to allow yourself to go through this process. And there's really no definite, step-by-step thing. You could be going through this in a circle, but you could also jump from anger to acceptance, and then back to depression, and then back to denial. It's really not a linear mode. And what do I mean by grieving situations or events? So let's just say something, you had this expectation and something, an event happened, or maybe it didn't happen. Like we all went to virtual now. So let's say if you were really excited to go to a conference and it didn't happen and it is all virtual, and maybe it's not the same experience that you had expected, you really need to allow yourself to just kind of grieve that situation. You don't have to spend a lot of time in grieving, but just allowing yourself, okay, feeling kind of angry right now. Okay, a little bit sad. Maybe, then you start bargaining. Then you come to a state of acceptance, and that's okay. So allow yourself to go into this process. Don't be afraid of these quote unquote negative or sad feelings. It's okay to go through them. You don't want to stay in the state for a long period of time, but it's okay to go through it, process this, and then release it. And then you can move on from there, learn your lessons, find the gift in situation, and move on. So what can we do about our mental, emotional, physical health? So remember how we said everything is connected, right? Mind, body, energy. So everything begins with your mindset, right? Your thoughts. And you can change your mindset. It is a skill, and it can be learned. So, and oftentimes people tell me like, well, I just don't have time to think a different way. Well, what most people don't understand is your brain is constantly pouring, thousands and thousands of thoughts into your conscious brain several times a day. All we're doing is basically changing that mindset. We're kind of flipping it around so that instead of all of these negative thoughts that are pouring in, we're going to slowly, over the course of time with repetition, change it to be more of a positive thought. And I'm not saying you should only think positive thoughts, but you need to be able to get to that sea-level state in order to make better decisions, and even be able to look at situations for what it really is. Because a lot of times we add our own stories to the facts without actually just looking at the basic facts. And we'll actually get to that in a second too. So empowering versus disempowering thoughts, or otherwise called helpful versus unhelpful. If you look at any thought that's coming into your mind, is it really empowering you? Is it making you feel more excited or more inspired to take actions and move forward? Or are these thoughts disempowering you? Are you giving your power away to somebody else? Are you expecting them to solve the problems for you? If you're doing that, then you are giving your power to somebody else and kind of like waiting for that person to do something or say something or not do something or not say something so that you can feel better. But you control your feelings and you control your thoughts. And I wouldn't say control, but you are responsible for your own thoughts, and you do have the power to change your thoughts or change your feelings or choose a better feeling so that you feel more empowered. So you don't have to give away your power to somebody else. And when we say unhelpful thoughts, it's usually, especially in a home setting, like when it comes to relationships, oftentimes as women, we go into this disempowering thought spiral, right? Let's say your spouse says something or does something or doesn't do something. We as women, sometimes we immediately go into this all or nothing mode, like, oh, he never does this, or he always, says this about me. And then we start we treat it as a catastrophe. Like, oh, what do I do now? Like, now everything is ruined. Or the mind reading, fortune telling, like, okay, so he didn't call me. That means he doesn't care about me, and we start kind of adding like all of these different layers to just basic facts, basic, raw facts. And that's where the fact versus story comes in, which we'll get to in a second. So just think about it. All I'm asking here is just take a pause in the moment, and then think about, okay, the thoughts I'm thinking about this person or the situation, is it really empowering me in the situation? Do I feel great about the story that I'm putting on these facts, or is it actually making me go down this downward spiral? So if it's going down, if you feel like you're going down this downward spiral, then just take a pause and then try to choose a better story you can tell yourself to slowly get yourself back up there, okay? Because you're choosing the story. So you can choose an empowering story to pretty much any situation, okay? I know it sounds hard in the moment, but you can. It's a skill, it can be learned. So easy wellness hacks for us cybersecurity professional and leaders here. One thing we really got to get really good at doing, especially as women, is setting boundaries for ourselves. Not saying yes to every single person every single time, whether it's at work or whether it's our family. Yes, we can be moms, we can be wives, we can be sisters, daughters, and a lot of times we feel like, oh, we have to be there for other people, and we don't really take a lot of time to be there just for ourselves. So we have to be able to set those boundaries in a loving and compassionate way. We don't have to, be mean about this, but we do have to set those boundaries for ourselves. And we also have to look at control in a very realistic way. If you imagine like 3 buckets, and if you look at one bucket as the things that you can control, one bucket for the things you really can't control, like the weather, and one bucket for the things, you wish you could control that, but you probably can't, right? So this kind of, if you start putting those things into these 3 buckets, it starts to release some of the angst on the stressors for you. Because if things are in the cannot control bucket, then there's no point, really spending a whole lot of energy and mental space and emotional space worrying about those things you can't control, because you can't control it. The things that you wish to control, you want to start taking a look at those and really trying to determine or discern, okay, so I wish to control these, but can I? So if you find out like, I would love to control this, but I really can't, okay, move that to the cannot control bucket. Or you might find out, I probably can control like my own reaction. Maybe there's a part of the situation that you can control, which is usually your own thoughts, your own perception, your own mindset. Then maybe move that to the can control, and just focus on the things that you can control and see what part of it can you control. Is it your perception? Is it an action? Is it a response? Or do you actually have full control over the situation? So it really starts to kind of weed away all of this extra baggage that's really that's taking up mental space and emotional space and energetic space in our minds. And then looking at fear as well. So I created something called a parachute plan. So, oftentimes when we have this need for control, or we start getting really stressed out or angry at things, it all boils down to some sort of fear, like a fear of being lonely, or a fear of not being needed, or a fear of not feeling worthy. And if we really start to boil that down even further, boiling your fears down, then the opposite of fear is facts, right? So you're fearing something because it feels like an unknown. You don't know what's going to happen, or you don't know how you're going to feel when that happens. or you're too scared of even feeling that. So what if, you created a parachute plan and face the fears with actual facts? Okay, let's just say I do end up, quote unquote, alone one day. Okay, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, that means I gotta, take care of my finances. I gotta, figure out what I need to do for my kids or my job, blah, 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 So when you start having that plan ready to go, oftentimes the fear doesn't take up so much room in your head. It doesn't have such a strong voice. It starts kind of coming down a bit, right? Because, okay, yeah, I can handle that. That's I'm a strong, resilient person. I can handle anything. So if you start kind of thinking like there's nothing to fear, you can create a parachute plan for everything that seems fearful now, and then slowly those fears start really dissipating. And again, we talked about managing expectations. The biggest, if you didn't get anything from this presentation, the one thing I would ask you to walk away with is scheduling 5 minutes, quick vacations throughout the day, every single day of the week, and especially your weekdays. And what do I mean by that? It's literally scheduling, put it on your calendar or on your phones right now, 5 minutes every hour in your waking hours. And in that 5 minutes, it's not just bathroom breaks, it's not just getting up and standing, it's not talking on the phone. It's literally take those 5 minutes to really rejuvenate yourself. And we'll go over like 5 quick ways to do that today, but really start writing down like what really energizes you. Is it just a quick 5-minute meditation? Is it looking outside for 5 minutes? Is it going outside for 5 minutes? Is it breathing exercises? Is it looking at pictures of your kids on the phone, or maybe even just visualizing a past event that really made you happy and excited, where you felt free? Take that 5 minutes every hour to really continue rejuvenating yourself throughout the day, not just waiting for that 1 week vacation that you take a year, which, the situation we're all in, we don't even know when that's going to come. So you really want to continue rejuvenating yourself throughout the day so that you can better use your own energetic system. Okay. Because a lot of people ask me, like, how do I have time to do it all? And time is finite, right? Like everyone has the same amount of time every day, but energy is not finite. So it's all about energy management here, and energy intelligence. If you use your energy intelligently and manage it well, you can achieve probably 10 times or even 100 times more than what you're probably doing right now, and still have all the energy that you need and feel fulfilled. So this is one way to do that. And an easy way to move yourself up step by step on that emotional guidance scale is feeling grateful. You can be grateful for any situation at any given point. Just being alive is enough to be grateful about. But, actually starting to write down 100 things that you're grateful for, and having that list handy. So take a picture of it, put it on your phone, and really look at it in the morning as soon as you wake up and right before you go to bed. And that, especially if you feel like you're going down that downward spiral and you want to slowly, take step by step moving up that ladder, really start thinking about, take a pause in that moment, take this 5 minutes and start thinking about all the things you're truly grateful for in the present moment. Okay, so I know we're running out of time. So 5 simple wellness hacks. So these are things you can do in that 5 minutes every hour, that are quick, easy to do, and it works pretty much immediately. So one is the fact versus story. So we talked a little bit about what is the actual facts, and then what's the story that you're telling yourself about these facts. Is it an empowering story? Is it moving you further up that guidance scale, the ladder, and it's making you feel great? Or are you telling yourself a disempowering story and you're going downward? That's how you know. How do you feel by telling the story? Is it empowering you or is it disempowering you? And if we just kind of lay out the raw facts, don't worry about your assumptions and your stories. And then you have this, you're telling yourself the story, right? So you can change the script for your story. So if it's a disempowering, then change your script to make it more empowering for yourself. This is all about you. This is not about this other person did this or the situation happened. those are going to continue happening, throughout your life, no matter who this person is or who the situation, what the situation is. But it's all about your response to that situation, right? So this is all about internal, the inner work that you're doing to find better solutions, to find better tools, to find what is the actual gift in the situation, because everything's happening for you for a reason. And always remember, the truth is only the truth in the moment. Just because a certain person in your life might be acting a certain way in this moment, you don't have to then put a label on that person like, oh, that person is just like that and it's always going to be that way. That's not true. People do change. And they change because you're changing yourself. You're changing your energy. You're changing your mindset. As you change, so will the surroundings around you. Okay, and then the next one is called the Shake It Off. So this is more on the body side. Remember, mind, body, energy. So there's lots of things you can do from a mindset perspective, which we don't have time to cover today, but from a body perspective, your physical body does affect your mindset and your energy. So the quickest way I've found to really kind of let go of all of this stress, and when you're feeling something mentally or emotionally, it does manifest in your physical body. And there's a quick way you can do this. When you're thinking about a situation, let's say you're thinking about a difficult person, or you're thinking about your job or your kids or your spouse or a situation that happened, when you actually close your eyes and think about that situation, just kind of ask yourself, where do I feel this in my body? And it'll come to you, right? So wherever you feel that in your body, that means that whatever is happening from a mental, emotional point of view, it manifests into a physical aspect. So if you're not able to release this stressor quickly and immediately, that's when it starts manifesting even deeper physically, right? Then it starts to become an issue. You start to have some pain or discomfort. And then if you kind of let that go, then it becomes a deeper pain. Maybe it becomes a dis-ease. Now you have to spend even more time trying to resolve this, right? So you see where I'm going with this. So the quicker, the faster, the more effective and efficient you can get to release these things when it's purely at a mental level or a mindset level, then you're not allowing yourself to manifest into an emotional level and then into a physical level. So shake it off. So you pretty much just shake. So there's a reason why athletes shake and dogs shake themselves off, because it really does release all of this, the stress from your body. So you just you can start by shaking your hands, your arms, and then your legs, and just getting up and just shaking it off for 2-3 minutes. If you can do it for 5 full minutes, that would be great. And this is it's great to do it first thing in the morning. You can shake off all the your uneasiness or discomfort from maybe having a bad sleep, especially before you go to bed. So if you can do this before you go to bed, it should start improving your quality of sleep as well. All right, so then we move on to breath work. So breath work can be pretty much mind, body, and energy. It kind of combines everything together, which is phenomenal. So there's 3 different techniques I listed here. You might have heard of one or more of these. And again, it's less than 5 minutes. So these are all things you can incorporate into your workplace setting, or even with your kids. If you're a mom, when you have a family, I teach this to all 3 of my kids, even my 3-year-old. When they're having a big tantrum, it's hard for them to really, they're way below in that downward spiral, right? So just having them just come, it's okay, whatever you're facing, name the emotion, label what you're feeling right now, and there's no bad emotions. It's just an emotion, right? So just label it. Okay, I'm feeling really frustrated right now. I'm like, okay, all right, let's find a calm place. Or if you don't have a calm place, that's okay too. Go to the bathroom and sit there, sit on your dining table, sit in your office, sit in wherever you can, and then just do some long belly breathing. So you don't want to come from your chest. because we tend to store our emotions and our stress and trauma in our solar plexus area, which is kind of like our belly area. So, you want to basically take a long inhale for a long 4 counts, and then you want to hold it for 4 counts. And then you want to exhale a long deep breath for another 4 counts. And then you want to repeat that at least for 2-3 minutes. Long deep breath in for 4 counts. You hold it at the top for 4 counts, and then you release a long deep breath for another 4 counts. And if you can, you could even hold it at the bottom for another 4 counts. Okay, it's called box breathing. And it really starts to just kind of loosen you up from a physical standpoint, start releasing all the stress. It also starts calming down your parasympathetic nervous system so that you can, start making better decisions, have more clarity of mind to move forward. Now, while you're doing this, there's something called Vu chanting that you can do. So as you exhale down, instead of just exhaling, you can chant the sound Vu, and then repeat it again. So you inhale, hold, and then do the Vu chanting through the exhale and hold again. And what the Vu chanting does is when you chant Vu, you can feel it originating from your body, right? So what you're really doing is you're stirring up all of the stressors and emotions and any traumas in your belly, and you're basically kind of like releasing that from your system, which is really, really great. This is another thing you can do right before you go to sleep for a couple of minutes. And then I know a lot of us have probably heard of the alternate nostril breathing. There's so many different ways of doing this, but one quick way that I found, which works well, especially to teach kids, is where you hold your right side of your nostril and you breathe through the left, you inhale. Then you hold your left, breathe out through the right. Then you breathe in through your right. You hold your right, breathe out through your left. And you just keep doing that for a few minutes. And that really starts to balance your left brain with your right brain. So if you're kind of feeling a little confused or, razzled, or you can't make a clear decision on something and you just keep going back and forth with it, try to just take a moment and then do some alternate nostril breathing. So it really clears both sides, balances both sides of your brain to get you to that clear state of mind. This is also really good for headaches. So, I know as cyber professionals and technology professionals, we're kind of like glued to a computer, spending a lot of time using a lot of the mental our mental capacities, probably more so than other fields. So this is really great to do in that 5 minutes every hour to really kind of release, give your brain a break to just kind of release, calm down, and balance both sides, so that then when you continue on for the next hour, you can be even more effective and more efficient. Okay, so 2 last techniques I'll leave you with today is one is called the tap it out method, is what I call it. It's basically based off of EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. So really quickly, EFT is a combination of a Chinese meridian system. So if you know about acupuncture or acupressure, it's based off of the Chinese meridian system. So there's millions of meridian lines running all over your body, and it's all connected. And there's meridian points as well. So there might be meridian points like all over your body as well, where the meridian lines connect. And what happens is sometimes when you have a physical stressor or mental or emotional, something's happening in any of these planes, your energy starts to get kind of blocked in different points, right? And that's what you then feel, either from an energetic standpoint or from a physical standpoint. Now, if we're able to release that block and allow your energy kind of to flow smoothly, then you can go about your day and you'll feel much better. So again, what you want to start with the deep breathing. So you want to do that at least 3 times. And then you want to just give yourself a rating. Okay, how stressed do you feel right now in this moment? Give yourself a rating. 1 being, I feel great, I'm feeling phenomenal, I have lots of energy, or 10 being, okay, I really feel really crappy right now. I just, I just, feel confused or feel really upset. And start by, there's so many different ways of doing this, and there's different meridian points, but one point is the karate chop point. So it's basically at the side of your hand, on the pinky side. So right below your pinky, you go halfway down your palm on the side, and then that squishy part, like over there on the side, that's where you want to start tapping. So just use 2 fingers from the other hand, and it doesn't matter which hand you use, whichever one you're comfortable with, and you just like lightly start tapping. So this is something you can do at home. You don't have to go to you don't have to put needles in there like acupuncture. You don't have to press really hard like acupressure. It's just a light tapping that you do and the points. But for today, we'll focus on this point. And what EFT does is it combines the tapping with psychology. So, really rewiring your brain and your energetic system. So as you're tapping, you want to start saying positive affirmations in the present moment. So things like, even though my mind is buzzing with a number of things I have to do right now, I want to find clarity and calm bit by bit. And, there's a couple other lines on here as well. So the thing with EFT is you start by saying how you're actually feeling. So if you're feeling kind of negative, you start with that and you just kind of lay it out there. This is how I'm feeling, even though I'm feeling blah, blah, and blah right now. And then how do you want to feel? I still love myself and I still accept myself, and I know I can do it. So what it does is it starts basically rewiring your brain for you. So it's basically telling your brain, okay, take the negative and turn it into a positive. So this does go a little deep if you really have a lot of stress and trauma from many years to come. This is not going to be an overnight thing, but you can use this in the moment just to kind of get yourself back to that calm state to make better decisions from. But it's not going to solve like deep down emotions that you might be feeling from some other thing. But this can be used for that as well. But you do want to go to like an EFT practitioner or a coach for that. Okay, so last technique I'll leave you with, and this is usually the fan favorite. It's called the Peace Begins With Me technique. So this is very easy to do. The kids love this because they could use it anytime and no one really knows what they're doing. You could use it at work. You could use it in the middle of a conversation because really nobody really knows what you're doing. So all I do is basically you tap your pointer finger to your thumb, then your middle finger to your thumb, then your ring finger, and then your pinky. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you're doing this, you can basically say a mantra like peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. And if you keep doing that for at least a couple minutes, you'll start feeling like your energy starts to flow better. And by combining it with this mantra, and you can change this to any mantra that you want, but you want to maybe change the first word, not the whole thing, because again, you're rewiring your brain to recognize that all of these emotions and feelings and thoughts began with you, which sounds like, we tend to want to blame other people for it because, it's easier when somebody else does the work for you. But then you lose your power, right? So when something begins with you, you hold the power to change that feeling and that emotion. So when you're basically doing peace begins with me, you're basically rewiring your brain to realize, oh, peace begins with me. So I can be at peace. So then I can allow I can still be in peace regardless of the surroundings, regardless of the people around me. And then by tapping, again, remember, like there's lots of meridian points on your fingertips, right? So your fingertips and your feet. So if you go to like a reflexologist, that's why they want to press on your feet, because there's so many meridian points that gather on your fingertips and your feet. But you probably don't want to be touching your feet like in the middle of a meeting. So this is a lot easier because there's, your heart is connected to your fingers, all of your organs are connected to your fingers. So this basically puts all of your internal organs and your heart at kind of a restful state by using your fingers to just tap. And then you're saying that mantra. You could say calmness begins with me, love begins with me, peace begins with me, whatever you want to change that word to. So this is phenomenal to teach your kids as well, especially if they're siblings and they're fighting against each other, teach this outside of the moment for them. So then in the moment, you can just kind of call upon this tool like, hey, remember the peace begins with me? Like, try that first. And they love it because, they can just go to their own little safe corner and do it, or they could just go to the bathroom, or they could just do it in the moment where they are. All right, so as you can see, being into cyber and technology, it is so important to take care of ourselves first. We have to be well, and so in order for us to lead from within and to really serve the people that we're leading in an organization. And cyber is one of those few jobs where people are actively trying to ruin your day all day, every day. So we are in a very unique situation, especially as women here too, because we have to take care of our households. And, if we're a leader at work, we have to take care of the people that we serve at work as well. So it's think less is more. We really do want to take these pauses in the moment. Think of the NASCAR, the race drivers. They're the fastest people in the world. They still come to a complete stop in every race to, put gas in their car, to make sure all the tires are checked, and then to mentally pause and regroup so that they can be even more efficient for the rest of the race. Okay, so we really need that pause in order to be even more effective. It's not the opposite. We're not wasting time by taking these pauses in the day. And that's about it, folks. So I do have transformational holistic wellness and conscious leadership programs that I teach at the corporate setting for companies and also on the individual basis. So if you're interested in any of that or just want to touch base with me, I'm happy to talk to you. My information is below here. And thank you so much for having me. And I don't know if there's time for questions, but I'm happy to.
Hi, Jyoti.
Hi.
Just coming back on screen because I was busy doing your breathing exercise and I lost track of time. Anyway, looking at your background also is very motivating. Think positive, be positive, do positive. I think we don't have questions per se, but we have a lot of people appreciating all the tips that you've been giving them. We do have one question from we have one compliment and one question from Mr. Haja. So Mr. Haja calls you Lady Buddha. And his question is, Jyoti, please give me a wise or motivational quote for my Monday morning motivational quote on LinkedIn. He usually posts a Monday morning motivational quote. So he wants you to give him a motivating or wise quote that he can post.
Motivating, wow, putting me on the spot here, I would use the one that I gave. The truth is only the truth in the moment. So we really have to think about life like that. It's only the truth. This situation is only happening right now in the present moment, and the present moment is the only one you have control over. So there's no point thinking about the past. It's already happened. There's no point thinking about the future because we don't know what's going to happen. So just focus on finding the gift and what's the best you can do in the moment, and not not worry too much about everything else.
Okay. So thank you so much, Jyoti. That was a very refreshing and I would say a breath of fresh air session after all of the really technical stuff that we've been hearing. Thank you so much for coming on again. And we look forward to having you and your very calming sessions for our future conferences as well. Thank you so much and please be safe.
Thank you so much for having me.